All right, welcome everybody. And Andie, what a day today's been. I mean, it is the beginning of 23, and so many of our patients are making massive transformations. I love the story you shared with me about a patient. We can't repeat the name, but we can repeat the story, which is how transformative it was when you gave his wife a little coaching. Andie was doing some parenting coaching today. And maybe you could explain, share with everybody that big win.
Well, it was regarding sleep hygiene, and it's a family that's got 5 children, ranging in ages. And the evening schedule had kind of, you know, been flushed down the toilet at some point. And it was really a matter of regrouping. And I've been a parent of young kids. I had 3 under 3.5. So sometimes you get caught up in the just trying to get it done, right? Getting the practical aspects done. So kind of the evening schedule went out the window. So I met with the client's wife because it was impacting the whole house, not having a good sleep schedule for everyone. So I met with the mum of the house, who is a stay-at-home parent, and just really got her back on track of having an evening schedule for everyone. The 6-year-old right through to the eldest, I think, is around 18. And also, trying to get the older children to help with things, to support those parenting roles, because there's a lot to do. But also, and the big win, because I gave a list of recommendations for sleep hygiene for the whole family. And the big win was getting the 2 younger ones to listen to an audio book to go off to sleep. Not only are they going off to sleep a lot earlier, they're asking to go to bed to listen to an audio book. So, which frees up time for the couple to have their time as well, which is really important. And we can neglect that with young families. And it's really important to put your relationship, as a priority as well. I am here because I married an American. This is not my first rodeo. And you can, you can neglect those relationships, and, you don't want to learn the lesson too late. So sleep is paramount for so many reasons, for a complete family, for individuals. Yeah. My baby slept through really well. Out of my first 3 that I had, the latest someone slept through was 5 weeks old, and that was my beautiful daughter, Bailey. So I could cope with anything during the day because I had a good night's sleep. So, sleep is paramount to functioning. And I mean, Reagan,
Yes.
brain fog, detoxing your liver. Sleep is paramount to everything that we do. So
Yes.
it was an awesome win today, and I was just really happy when I spoke to the lady. I said to her, "Oh, this is a happy dance." I said, "You have made my day, that this has really impacted your household so much." It was awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that, because sleep is exactly what we're talking about today. Because what we're doing is we're launching our new, this is going to be our, the 18 essentials. So every week we're going to be talking about going and taking a deep dive into the essential parts of the Accelerate Wellness program. So that what we think and what we believe is that anything worth doing is worth doing well, and why fix things twice? And so the only way in health that you can fix things for good is if you change your behavior and change your habit. And so one of the core, and it's actually the very first essential in the reset program, is sleep. And so when you mentioned that today, Andie, I was like, the timing couldn't have been better. And what a great way to.
I know, but this is how it works, right?
It is. If you look, you got to look for synchronicities in the world, and they're always there.
Yeah. And
And
sometimes it bashes you about the head, like it did today.
sometimes it's like
We didn't have to look too far.
not too far at all. But how many of you would say that you have really good sleep hygiene, and you would say, if you had to grade yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, that your sleep's actually pretty darn good? And so hopefully that is most of you, but if you think about sleep, one of the things that I often will share is the fact that we can go longer without food than we can without sleep. And this was proven. There's a gentleman who is a Chinese guy, and he was trying to watch every single World Cup. And what he did is he was drinking Red Bulls, coffee, he was chain
Oh,
smoking cigarettes. That was his goal. And I think the World Cup goes for like 3 or 4 weeks. It's a ridiculous amount of time. And he wasn't going to miss a single game until, it was over, the World Cup, and there was, a winner. But unfortunately, keeping yourself awake nonstop for that long, he ended up having going into a grand mal seizure that his nervous system never recovered from, and he actually died. And that was about 21 days in with no sleep, and just pushing himself with all these stimulants. So, but then if you look on the flip side, oh, go ahead,
but
Andie.
depriving people of sleep, is how people used to be tortured.
I'm sure people
I mean,
still
this
are.
is, and he was signing up to do it voluntarily. Ugh.
It was a foolish challenge. It was probably it was obviously the dumbest decision he ever made in his life, because that was the last decision he
Yeah,
could.
how's he feeling about it now, right?
Yeah, because if you think about, what's the thing that can actually help keep our bodies healthier than anything else, it's sleep. I mean, and so that's what we're going to be diving in today. But first of all, there's different types of insomnia, and the insomnia is interesting because as you look at it, insomnia can be where you don't fall asleep easily and you stay awake at night ruminating, and it's really hard. You lay down and you're so tired, but then your brain doesn't let you fall asleep. The other issue with sleep is when you fall asleep easy, but then you wake up afterwards. And so as we look at those two different types, there's some general hygiene that we have everybody follow in the reset program. And so if you have that documented, you guys can follow along with it. But Andie, we ask people, we say, hey, if you're going to work with us, we really want to get this thing called your circadian rhythms balanced. And it's actually the most fundamental part of healing. And so one of the peptides we use is epitalin, and I'll dive into the science on that. But the other thing that we do is we have people that go to bed around 9:30 and wake up around 5:30. But what's the reasoning behind that? And how does that change when people actually start doing it? What does it change in their life?
Energy.
Big time, right? Because
Mhm.
when you sleep through the night, you have growth hormone that gets secreted. You
Yeah.
wake up the next day, you feel refreshed, and energy is the biggest. Have you ever had insomnia, Andie?
Um, I have had times where, and for me, even currently, while my sleep, I think my sleep is pretty good, but I live in a different country from my children. So, and they're on a different, not only a different country, but completely flip time zone.
Mm,
So there's a couple of issues with that. If I'm ever worried about one of my children, it
yeah.
impacts me at night. Things that you don't necessarily even worry about when it's daylight are suddenly great big gremlins at night. So, and also if someone if someone communicates with me, I find it very hard not to pick up my phone, because what if it's an emergency? So those are
Right.
two things. If I'm worried about one of my beautiful children, or if someone communicates with me and then I have looked at a blue light screen and and I know better, right? So those are
Right.
two things. Even though my sleep is probably at 90% where I'd like it to be, I've still got a margin of error.
Yeah. Well, and it's hard because, when everyone's asleep, it's easier to kind of relax. I'm the same way with my kids. It's like, when they're home and they're in bed, it's like, great, I can sleep deeper. It's, I'm always slightly awake if they're not home in time. So we have pretty darn early curfews around here. It drives our kids crazy, but sleep is so critical.
Yeah.
So, but if you think about the difference, going to bed at 9:30 what it requires is preparation. Just like we have our morning routine, yeah, a morning routine is only as good as your evening routine. It's just like your last
Mhm.
workout was only as good as your last recovery. And so with sleep, it's really important because what starts to happen is your body goes into this deep state of, first of all, our brain waves change. And so if you guys, have studied kind of the alpha, the gamma, the theta brain waves, those start to change. And then when you drop into your deep sleep and the delta waves start to increase, that puts your body at a whole different level and it feels amazing. And so some of the things that you want to do at night, and these are, part of the essential, and this is why we start with sleep, is because when you get good sleep, you have lowering of inflammation, your body recovers faster. But the way you set it up is try to stop eating at about 6:30, so about 3 hours before you go to bed, and it's really important. And then go brush your teeth so that you don't eat after that, because it's so much easier when somebody asks you. And I've shared this before, but my little hack is brushing my teeth right after I eat dinner so that I'm done eating. And it's like that's kind of my cutoff, and then there's no snacking.
Yep.
Um, and that's a really easy thing. And then you want to make sure your lights are dim. So just like Andie was talking about blue lights, changing the lights in your house, or at least dimming those. Do you have any, or you can put on your blue light blockers, but what's your ritual at night, Andie, for sleep?
I'm really big. I tend to go to bed before my husband. He tends to stay up a bit later, although, and I get up earlier. I'm always up between 5 and 5:30 at the latest. So I am about 9:30, I'm in bed. Um, my routine, my routine starts when I get home from work. I'm
Hmm.
generally home 6:30, depending on the day. And I always take my makeup off and get in my comfy clothes. And that is the start of my evening routine. As weird as that might sound, getting
Cool.
home at about, between 6:30 and 7, that is the start of it. And I have dinner pretty soon after getting home. So I'm allowing that window. And I'm a bit of a telly junkie, so I will watch telly for a wee while, but I will wear my prescription glasses that have blue light blockers in them. We don't have the lights on in the family room when we're watching telly in the evening.
Hmm.
Then I have half an hour, and I actually sent some sleep is such an area where people struggle. It's very common. I sent some sleep recommendations to a client this morning. 30 minutes before you're getting into bed, it is your calm space.
Yeah.
And your bedroom is your sanctuary. You don't have your desk set up in your bedroom. You don't have a telly in your bedroom. It is your quiet, beautiful sanctuary. Declutter your bedroom.
Yeah.
Get rid of clutter, not just on your bedside table, under your bed. Make sure your wardrobe is nice and tidy. It's all about having this beautiful space. Something I suggested to this lady this morning, of course, which I suggest to a lot of people, is lavender spray on your pillows is a beautiful
Oh,
thing to
yeah.
do. Sorry, I went off topic. You were asking me about
No,
my sleep.
no, this is great. Yeah. I mean,
But,
uh,
there's so many things we can do, but I think really to get people to see their bedroom as their sanctuary. It's not your office. It's not your entertainment with the TV and screens. It is your quiet, beautiful sanctuary. Is your is your mattress really comfortable? Do you
yeah.
like the sheets you sleep in? There's so many things to really look at to make you go, I really want to get into bed. I mean, Reagan, Mike and I have a little desert house down in Torrey.
Yeah.
We love going to bed down there. It's the new
We,
mattress of
we
Gone With
love going to bed down there. We go down there to go to bed. But it's your
But
mattress?
it's the new version of the mattress we have here. But honestly, we get in that bed and we've got bamboo sheets and the mattress, and we're like, oh, it's like sleeping on a cloud.
Nice.
And it is a true sanctuary. And it's not unlike you've described our new workspace.
Yeah.
It's somewhat of a Scandinavian vibe. The place we built is very Scandinavian and very minimal. There's nothing under the bed. There's nothing on the tables. There's
Nice.
one mat on the floor underneath the bed, and everything else is clean. And oh my goodness, and we don't close the blinds, and the stars are amazing. So, it's a beautiful sanctuary that is so conducive to a good night's sleep.
Man, I love that.
Yeah.
And so I think Andy, you nailed it. It's like that 30 minutes before is a good time
Yeah.
to read, to meditate, pray, and then just give your brain something to work on, because one of the things that we ask you to do first thing in the morning is your mindset morning. And but when you sleep, if you give your brain, first of all, if you say, okay, what are the three great things that happened today? And this is what I got from Dan Sullivan. So the three wins, or three things you're grateful for, and then what three things will make tomorrow great. And then you think about the positive things that you're going to accomplish the next day. And what that does is your subconscious mind goes to work when we're asleep, and it starts creating the strategy for the next day. And so if you don't believe that you create your future, then just do this exercise every day, and you'll see the way you envision it the night before you go to sleep, those amazing things happen the next day.
Yeah.
And
And something really useful around that, which I know you've mentioned before, is also journal those things.
yeah, yes. Yeah, right. That when you wake up, I mean, this is a great time to just kind of start thinking through your thinking, instead of jumping right into Facebook or turning on the news and getting all that kind of chaotic energy. But your subconscious mind is so powerful, and this is, I had I've spoken to a couple of the people who attended the last retreat, the Peak State retreat, and they did the
Mhm.
ketamine, and they said their thinking is just so much deeper, and they're able to connect things. Excuse me, they're able to connect things that they weren't able to connect before, because of that experience that they had with the ketamine. And so but even when you go into a deeper sleep, you're accessing different brain waves, and so it's such a powerful thing. So the challenge last week that we asked you to do is, it was focused on this concept called hypertrophy. And so I'm going to tie this into sleep, because when you exercise, it's another way that you can get great sleep. I sleep 10 times better when I exercise. My body, I've always had a lot of energy. And as a kid, I would notice if I didn't like really do something physically strenuous that day, and I had a threshold that I always had to meet, that I wouldn't sleep as good. I had a lot of insomnia in high school. Sometimes I'd push myself too hard, and then I would be inflamed, couldn't sleep. And then I have this genetic variant called COMT, COMT. And so I don't process dopamine. So if I get really hyped about something, then I'm just reliving it. I'm just recycling that dopamine, and I don't kick it out. And so I've
So
learned.
how long does that take for you? Like if you raise your dopamine, it stays there for a while?
Yeah.
Where does it go, and how long does it take?
Oh, it can take, it depend. I mean, in the past, it would take 12 hours to process a football game, for example. Something was super stimulating, but then, now that I've learned how my genetics to my body works, now it's maybe an hour. And I actually, I understand how to deal with that. It's actually can be a real superpower. A lot of, it can lead to a lot of creativity if you don't get stuck in the cycle. Otherwise, a lot of people with the COMT variant end up having pretty chronic anxiety, because the dopamine never gets processed. So like low dose lithium is a really good, that's usually a deficiency. It's a really good way of treating it.
Mhm.
And then using like Selenk has been just masterful for me as well. Amongst other things, NoPep is a good nootropic I've enjoyed for it as well. But with exercise, we challenged everybody last week, because what will be, we're talking about sleep. We're going to be talking about the essentials, but really, tying back into the muscle building. We asked everybody to work on a muscle group that they wanted to burn out and they wanted to get looking really fancy. And so how many of you were able to induce that burn where you went till failure on a certain movement? Did any of you get
I'm
the
waiting for you to ask me about my flabbertists, Reagan.
how do the flub are they gone yet? It's been a week. I mean, the
A
flabdubita.
week. Hey, these took 60 years. It's going to take longer than a week.
Andy, I expected them to be gone. I mean,
Look, something really cool happened today. Okay, so I went down to speak to Tristan, and Shayna was in doing a little bit of training with him, and she was doing, a variation of a push-up. And I said, I have no upper body strength. And Tristan said, come on, get here on the table and try this. And I was like, oh dear. And as you know, I've been committed to my morning yoga since the 1st of April last year. And
yeah.
I'm like, I can't do this. I'm like, oh shit, And I'm on the table and he's like, no, you need your hands further apart. And I'm like, oh, it's getting harder by the second. I did 4. I have
Nice.
never done one in my life.
Wow.
Even
Amazing.
doing gymnastics as a kid, I had no upper body strength. It's just never been something I've either focused on, I felt a bit defeated on. So I'm like, well, I haven't, so I can't. And after doing that, solid 9 months of yoga, I'm like, damn, I can do this.
Yeah, good for you.
So the flabbertists are still there, but I am working on them, and I have found out that I actually have developed some good core and upper body strength over the last
That's
9
great.
months. So
Oh,
I was really happy about that.
that's a big win.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you.
So Andy went to failure. I did. I went to failure in my air squats. I talked about that in the podcast the next day, and then I think we ended up doing like 184 or something, but I could feel it the next day. And then I did the same thing on an incline bench, and then same thing with lat pull downs, and I did all of those twice over the week, and it feels really good. I can actually feel a lot of change happening just in a week. And so how many of you, and maybe I don't know, is our chat box working? I know sometimes you can go to Q&A if you're noticing that the chat box is disabled. Zoom has been giving us some fits recently.
I just wrote a hello there, so that was working.
Yeah, but yeah, we want to see what you guys did for your hypertrophy. And then one of the big reasons why sleep is a critical component when you're going to build the body of your dreams so that you can have the next decade be your best decade is sleep is how you can recover from these workouts. And so, so the big challenge for this week is you can pull up your reset document, and you'll see in the reset document, the very first thing we ask you to do is to go to bed at 9:30, wake up at 5:30. So, so I figured it'd be a great way to start the year, and as we're going into muscle building mode. If you're not familiar with this, pull out your 60-day reset roadmap, and then you'll be falling asleep. Ideally before 10, you're going to get more growth hormone release. Eat your last meal 3 hours before bed. You'll make your mom proud by going to bed early. And so that's a really important key. Avoid screens like
See, as
TV.
mothers, we're not wrong.
Exactly. Mothers
Yeah.
know best, even if they don't always know the science behind why you need to get to bed early. It's still important to listen to your mom, and use your blue light blockers. For those of you who have the Accelerate Wellness blue light blockers, we gave you those so that you can do your first hack and your first essential, and start getting to bed. Set your room temperature at 70 degrees or lower. Ideally, you want to have air moving, either a window cracked or an air purifier, because it's pretty darn cold right now. And then if you do snore, grab some duct tape your mouth shut, and sleep on your side, especially if you sleep on your left side. The research now shows that you get better lymphatic circulation And so you actually prevent Alzheimer's more by sleeping on your left side. So it's better for your brain that way, and better for your airways too when you sleep on your side. So so that's your hack for this week. And so get after it. Get your sleep in. Some of the other hacks I mentioned, I dive into epitalon. And epitalon, or there's another way of pronouncing it, which is European, which is epitalon. That may suit you better, Andie. Does epitalon or epitalon feel better for you?
Well, you introduced me to epitalon, so it's epitalon.
It's epitalon. Okay, fair enough. But epitalon is a really powerful peptide, and for those of you who don't have our new peptide handbook, let us know. We'll send it to you. We'll be happy to send you an email of this. But this is a great handbook that gives you a quick reference guide to some of the peptides you're taking. And so epitalon will go down to the E's. We've now put this in alphabetical order, but one of the things it does is it supports your hypothalamus, your pituitary, the adrenals, and it's a telomerase enzyme. So what that means is it silences the DNA, and when your DNA is silenced, imagine it's just like sleeping down in Tori is everything's quiet. Or one of the things I love about being out in the snow, and my wife, she brought this to my attention a couple of weeks ago, is just how the sound gets absorbed in the snow. And so everything is just so pristine and quiet when you're out in the woods, on hikes. It's just been, I just love this time of year. It's so magical. But epitalon is a way that you silence the inside of your body so that you can get over that mental chatter, so that you can start living your best life. And what happened with fruit flies and even rats given epitalon, they had a 52% decrease in mortality. So it's it's an amazing way that you can accelerate and basically you accelerate your enzymes for telomeres, and that starts taking off biological years on your clock. So if you're 50, you take epitalon, what the research shows is you'll start showing up as a 43-year-old in your blood work and in your telomeres. So really powerful peptide. It balances the circadian rhythm, so it works on the pineal gland. And so the way it relates to sleep is you get a better release of melatonin, and then it helps stabilize cortisol. So cortisol gets released at the right time, as does melatonin. And it looks like we had a question come through here. So, please send me the peptide handbook. Would you mind sending that to Elaine, Andie? And so we'll get that sent right out to you. The other thing that epitalon does is it balances blood lipids. So a lot of our patients who have high cholesterol, or even if they have high C-reactive protein, epitalon is a really powerful peptide that helps balance out the blood lipids, and so it can lower cholesterol. And then finally, what epitalon does is it decreases inflammation in the overall body. And what we've seen with autoimmunity is epitalon is one of the best peptides you can take for autoimmunity because of the way that it works on what's called the MMP2 pathway, which also has a great property for protein synthesis. So if you think about the 9 hallmarks of aging, one of those is our inability to break down proteins and denature them. And what epitalon does is helps us actually digest proteins even better. So great for muscle building is protein synthesis. And you also need sleep for the growth hormone. Epitalon just seems to be, it's a bioregulator peptide, but it seems to be the most powerful for resetting this whole stress response in the body. So kind of interesting, huh, Andie?
Sorry, I was sending the email.
Oh, yeah, no worries. I got you. I'll just finish my monologue here. But yeah, epitalon, we've been.
Go Reagan, it was good. It made perfect sense.
Great. Yeah, everything that I didn't hear made perfect sense.
Yes, exactly.
No worries. I can't multitask either, but epitalon, we've changed the dose just so everybody knows. Some of the research that we've been doing is actually showing that you'll get a better expression and a better response from epitalin if you actually use it at a, you have your 10 milligrams per milliliter dose. But what you're going to be doing is 1 cc of that every 3 days until it's gone. So it will last you for 5 cycles. And it's made a huge difference in my sleep since I've done that, where I'm actually getting about 20 extra minutes that I wasn't before. And then I feel more energized. It's just more resiliency from a physical perspective. So it's been pretty amazing.
Now, Reagan, am I remembering correctly? Quite possibly not. Does it suit them to dose epitalin in the morning, and some people it suits them more in the evening? Is that correct?
Yeah, it just really depends. I do much better in the morning on it because for some of us who are super sensitive, it can be a little stimulatory, but other people actually, it just knocks them out and they sleep great. I just found that it took me another 30 minutes before I felt tired when I do epitalin at night. But
Oh, okay.
90% of people do better at night than in the morning. But if you're
Okay.
concerned at all, you'll get the same benefits. There's no difference in the literature as far as,
There's maybe just a delay.
yeah,
Right.
yep. But I love it in the morning. So give it a try. If you guys have not done epitalin in the last 6 months, I like all of our patients doing it every 6 months. That's where the research shows that you get the best expression on the telomerase enzyme. And it's a great way of just clearing out the stress in your nervous system. And so, get epitalin. And I've got a very special announcement for everybody. This Friday, we are starting our peptide masterclass. And so the peptide masterclass has typically been just reserved for people who are in the Go Wellness community. And I've only done it, and provided this material for different doctors, medical practitioners. But what we decided to do this year is we're going to open up certain segments to each one of you. So if you guys would like to try out one of these, there's no cost for your first master class. It's 3 hours, so it's going to be Friday from 9 until noon. But if you are somebody who really wants to take in more information on peptides, and actually it's a whole learning experience about how your body works, that is going to take place starting Friday from 9 to noon. So if it's of interest to you, text the office and we'll get you the link, or look at your inbox because we sent an email out about it today.
Yay.
Yeah, so I'm excited. So big takeaways from today. What did you get out of our conversation today?
How important sleep is. It's so important.
Yep.
And, like you said, you can survive. What was it? You can't survive sleep. The only thing that would be a shorter time frame would probably be hydration, right? But you can survive, with the food sleep equation, you can actually,
You can go without food. They've
kill you.
got deprivation tanks as long as you stay hydrated. There's actually an obese individual, and he was 435 pounds, and he didn't eat for a year. I mean, they just kept him hydrated, and it was crazy. And then they've done deprivation tanks, and people, as long as they stay hydrated, you'll see where their organs will be half the size, but they can still live 60 days with no food. It's crazy. I don't recommend it. That's not what I'm saying.
No. This is not an experiment. This is many years ago, early on when I was living in Australia, a tourist went to Australia and wanted to do 40 days and 40 nights in the desert.
Wow.
And he went out into the desert. I'm recalling with nothing. And he was a big, burly, carrying carrying a few extra kg, quite a few extra kgs.
Yeah.
And they ended up finding him, and he was barely alive and had lost, he was skeletal, and,
Wow.
out in the Australian desert with no hydration. And he's lucky I mean, what a foolish thing to be doing. But yeah,
Oh, yeah, do not do that. But
yeah, no, we don't
but
recommend this at home.
yes, but the point of sleep is, you can, your brain actually has to reset itself, and
Yeah,
it has to organize all of the data, because our brains are taking in, trillions of bits of information every single second. There's so much going on in our body. And so that sleep is a way that our brain organizes itself. And yeah, and it's actually a really magical part of life. It's where you can really sink in and get renewed for the next day. So I love sleep. I hope you guys do too. Andie, thanks so much for great conversations today. Oh, and Elaine asked, will the class be online? Yes, it's going to be virtual. It's going to be on Zoom. And so, happy to have you on there. So really appreciate you guys. And Elaine, if you'd like, we can, if you text the office, ask for Tucker, and Tucker will get you the link, and we'll get you signed up for the peptide masterclass. All right.
fantastic. Thanks, Reagan. Have a great evening.
And one more announcement. Don't forget, we moved to our new facility in Midvale. It's going to be 7050 South Fort Union, or Union Park Boulevard, Suite 140, and that's January 30th. So after January 26th, don't come to the Salt Lake office, because we're moving, and we'll be all set up by January 30th.
Yay. Looking forward to it. It's an awesome space team. So yeah.
Yep, can't wait. Okay, thanks, Andie. We'll see you
Thanks,
guys.
Reagan.
Don't
Bye.
forget your challenge. Get to bed by 9:30, wake up by 5:30. Try it this week.
It's so good.
I
Game
love
changer.
it. Bye-bye.
Bye.